Yeah, it's your boy Ontoneyo, Southwest Alliance. I'm sitting down with Tigo B, straight out the Carolinas. What's happening, man?
Yes, indeed. What's up with you, Tonyo? You good, brother?
Stay working. The industry stay busy, so we got to keep it going every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Um, obviously the first time I heard you was this winter song. You know what I'm saying? Which I
For
think
sure.
is just amazing content. I've played it at a lot of places already, but I wanted to get the real deal scoop from you about because when somebody get a good song or somebody get a hit or go viral, we all find out about them. You know what I'm saying? But one thing we
Absolutely.
don't is we don't get to hear the struggle, like what they went through to get there a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? And people just see, when you up, but they don't really know what it took to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. For sure.
So if you could just like, tell us about yourself, like where you come from and what it was like coming up. You know what I'm saying? Even before the rap shit or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, originally I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, and then, I was just a hooper. You know what I'm saying? I played ball for school and all that. Then just like anybody else, man, just trying to figure
You
it
was trying
out.
to get that Tar Heels jersey, huh?
Yeah, you already know. I definitely didn't want that Duke jersey, you did. So, I was just trying to figure it out. And then for real, I just started hustling. Like I just really got into hustling. I'm somebody who from middle school, I started figuring out how to get my own money. And I always just been self-reliant. So I never been dependent on anybody. You know what I'm saying? I just always figured out how to get my own dollars. So, I really school just kind of took a back burner to that. And I just started running it up. Then I moved to Greensboro and went to A&T. But I really ain't had no business being there if I ain't know what I want to major in. Really I just want to go there to flex on them girls, you feel me? So I went there, then uh, I got kicked off of campus. I was hustling then too. And then, really what ended up happening was, I dropped out, just kept hustling. At the same time, I had some partners who were really into music and they were like, yo, you should try this out. So I just really tried my hand at it. And truthfully, I used to like freestyle and I get high in high school and things like that. And I was always talented with it, but I just never saw it as an actual career path. And
Right. It
then
was more
when
like
I,
because I was in the same boat, man. I used to flip from the park high school, and I'll just be rapping just to pass the time. You know what I'm saying? This is like '96.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's cats that was rapping. That rap now that wouldn't freestyle with me at the park back then. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure. I already know. I
But I
already
want to
know.
ask you this real quick because you said that you was always self reliant, and I understand that because I moved out of my parents' house when I was 15. Matter of fact, my mother was in jail. I didn't meet my father
Mm-hmm.
until I was 14, and I think that part of me feeling like I needed to be self reliant was never having anybody really to rely on, and that made
Yeah,
me go, okay, I gotta worry about me, and that's it. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure, for sure, for sure. But the funny thing is, if I ever need to lean on my mom or my pops, I could have. But it's the way I'm set up, even to this day, I ain't never had to ask them for nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was like I just always inside of myself wanted my own stuff. I just wanted to have my own.
Right. Was that
So
anything that they instilled in you, or was that anything that just
I
happened?
mean that you might could
You
say
got too many
because
brothers.
like yeah, like my whole family. I'm the first person born in America. The rest of my family's from West Africa. You see what I'm saying? Sierra
Okay.
Leone specifically. So they always hustled themselves. Like my father, he still run the paper route to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like throwing
Wow.
the papers. You seen them carry. He still do that to this
Wow.
day. And that's just something he just keep doing. He don't even have to do it no more.
Right.
My
I think
mother.
that that's a common thing, though, among first generation Americans is that,
Yeah,
like, you get here, you see what your parents go through, and you're like, nah, I'm not,
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
cheat this game from the beginning. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
for sure. And then my mother, actually like she went to school, she became a nurse. Like I watched, I really watched. Like my family has a true come up story from when my parents first moved into this country. They were in the projects, and when they had me, we was still in apartment living, and then all the way up till Now they got $500,000 crib. And that's not even off of me. That's off of
That's
what
all
they
damn.
did. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Yeah, that's off of what they did. You see what I'm saying? So, I watched that. I watched my mother start her first business. You know what I'm saying? Like I watched it. You see what I'm saying? And now,
That's what's up.
and then my father got on board with that business and helped expand the business. So, that's where I got that savvy from. So I always in my mind just knew like, I'm gonna always figure it out on my own. And that's what I always did.
Well, I
So
think some of that problem solving, like what you just alluded to, I think answers the question is that when your parents are problem solvers and you see them go, I don't need a job, I'll start my own business. That
exactly.
that gets planted in your brain as a child, and you're like, I don't need to go to high school or college. I need to open this business.
Exactly. And that's the thing, the whole time they were trying to get me to go to school, but shit, I just never saw it. It never made sense to me. Like I was
Isn't it
never
crazy that
interested.
none of the top 5 richest people in the world went to college?
I mean, it's because you realize that you either working for a dreamer or a dreamer's working for you. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what I realized. Like, you know, even what it is that we call college, it's an institution that's created by those who didn't even have it. You see what I'm saying? Like, so at the end of the day, they were educated in their own way. They learned like how everybody's learned before universities existed through
Right,
experience. You know
right.
what I'm saying? So
Right. And that's not to knock college because I'm going to keep it real. I was in the streets till I was 25, 24. And then when I
yeah,
got out of jail, I was like, I'm going to go to
uh-huh.
college. And
For
college
sure.
saved my ass. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure. For
Because it,
sure.
it
For
taught
sure.
me it taught me a lot of things. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know how to talk to white people till I went to college.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that
saying?
makes
Like they
sense.
speak,
Yeah.
they spoke a different language. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
from afar, I'd be watching, but I would never around them. So then when I got to college, I was in the dorms and it took me some time to acclimate to that language. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, to be able to code switch like that.
Yeah, because you can't treat black or Latina women like you could
Mm.
like not in a negative way. I just
I know what you're saying.
white women accept different things. Like you could not call a white woman for a week. She's cool.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
call
yeah,
that
yeah.
Latina girl or that black girl the next day, she wilding on you.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what
for
I'm
sure.
saying?
For sure. It's a different thing. For sure, for sure.
So
Right.
let's go back to the music. So obviously, you still working your way up. But the music you're putting out is high quality. Like, how long did that process take? Like, how long from starting just freestyling, just and then your friends say, "Hey, you should do this for real." How long did it take from there to feel like you was in your bag? You know what I'm saying?
Man, to be honest with you, I always just been like naturally confident. So off of them just saying that, I already felt like I was decent. So then them being like, yo, you really good at this, boosted my confidence even more. So now the internal confidence being validated externally. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with this. So then I was dealing with a girl at that time, and I finessed her into let me use her credit card, and I ran it up and just bought a bunch of studio equipment. You did what I'm saying?
Word, word.
Yeah, yeah, and then
Allegedly.
yeah, but look, and I done paid her back though. After I came
Hey,
up, I paid her back.
hey man, that's love right there. I cannot tell you that. I've heard a lot of them stories. I ain't heard no one ever say I paid them back.
Yeah, yeah, because that's another part of my story. I had that this really crazy spiritual awakening. So after that, I thought about people that I did wrong, how I could make it right. So I ended up going back
Word,
and paying her back. I found her, reached out to him, like, look, you remember that shit I did? That shit wasn't right. What's your bank
word.
account information? So I paid it back with interest. You know what I'm saying?
That's love, man. That's dope. I want to talk about that real quick because I myself am a person who went through a radical transformation, and I will call it
Yeah,
spiritual. I don't want to attribute it to I don't like to say the word God because
I'm with
you know what I'm saying? I feel like the word God is antiquated, like it was
you. Yeah,
created to kind of keep us in this image of what God is when God is much bigger than that. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely,
So I like to
absolutely.
say the universe or fate will have it. But
Yeah.
could you tell us about that spiritual awakening and like what drove you to that point to need that?
Uh, a lot of times, man, when I talk about this spiritual awakening, a lot of people be like, what happened? Did you get in a car wreck? Or did you have a death in the family? And for me, it was never anything negative that brought it about. Really, since I was real small, I always had the same questions and nobody could answer them. And then it wasn't
Right.
until YouTube really got popping, and I realized I'm like, oh, I can really ask YouTube whatever, and
Right.
there's be a
There's
video.
something. There's some kind of video
Exactly,
about
exactly
it. Right.
pertaining to the topic. So as I was hustling and doing music and whatnot, I was just asking the questions I always had on my mind, and I realized through YouTube I could go down these rabbit holes.
What
And
was one of those questions that you felt? 'Cause I
I
kind of
mean,
feels very similar. I'm
yeah,
the
yeah,
oldest kid. I always had questions. I went to
for
Catholic
sure.
school. I went to Baptist school, and I got
Yeah,
kicked out every time for asking too many questions.
yeah, that happened to me. I was at Catholic school till I was in the fifth grade. I got kicked out, and that's how I ended up in middle school in in public school. So, but yeah, it's the same sort of the same thing. I asked too many questions. They couldn't answer it. So, but make a long story short, I feel like the gist of it. I wanted to know where souls come from, why souls are here, and where souls are going. I think that just pretty much encapsulates what I really wanted to know. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I could ask
Right.
that in a variety of
Things that
ways.
things that the typical spectrum don't answer. They just kind of
Exactly.
exist.
Exactly. So religion doesn't do a good enough job to satisfy my curiosity with those subject matters. So I had to really tap in to something else. So make a long story short, man, I came across meditation via a man by the name of David Wilcock, and I ended up pursuing that. So I meditated for like 4 days consistently, and through that I had, for lack of a better term, a supernatural experience, but like
No,
a
you had a
genuine
breakthrough.
one.
You broke through
Yeah,
a threshold, a spiritual threshold.
yeah, for sure. I got a
Yeah.
genuine experience. My whole life I've heard about people having various experiences, but this was something that I could quantify, put into words, and other people had similar experiences as well through
Now,
using
were you
meditation.
fast? Were you like fasting or drinking only
No,
water or
at
anything?
this point, I was not doing any of that. I wasn't even
Okay.
familiar with fasting at that moment. At that moment, I was only familiar with meditating and the
Okay.
possibility of being able to access the third eye, what they call the pineal gland, what have
Right.
you. So
Absolutely.
then when I got into it, I had success in experiencing some of the things that the man was talking about. So from that day forward, I was like, okay, I'm not about to do music anymore. So I quit music, I quit clubbing, I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I went vegan, and then I just studied meditation and
How long did
spirituality
that take you away from music?
for 3 years, man. I
Okay.
started studying under different spiritual teachers. I went to China for some time and studied with Buddhists out there.
Hey,
And
that's dope. That's fucking dope. Because I definitely subscribe to some Buddhist. I definitely read things the Buddha said, study things about the
yeah,
Buddha, just because I feel like it puts the power in your hand instead of waiting
absolutely.
on God, on waiting on God.
Absolutely. It resonates. I think it resonates with most souls when they get familiar with what the Buddha was teaching
Yeah.
in particular. But
Crazy because the Buddha is like people who are not Buddhists or never read, like, don't know what the Four Noble Truths or the eight laws of
Eightfold Path.
compassion. Yeah, the eightfold path of compassion. They might not
Yeah.
understand. It's like, look, Buddha's like Tony Robbins of the old world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, for
It's like
sure. For sure.
he wasn't walking around telling people, "Oh, you got to follow me because God follows me." He's like, "Nah, I tapped into some shit. You want to know about it? Here's how I did it."
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's exactly what Buddha's teachings are. It's like I figured this out. This is how I did it. Take
Right,
it or leave it. That's the end of it. So, but
right.
with that being said, man, so I studied with different spiritual teachers, and then through that path, it took about 3 years, and then I was able to genuinely satisfy that curiosity. So then I started teaching meditation, teaching spirituality, and then it was actually one of my teachers in China that suggested that I started doing music again.
Yeah.
And
It was an
yeah, so then
imbalance in your desires. You know what I'm saying? He probably could see your aura.
I mean I would say that I think with it because with them they were so fascinated by the fact that I did music, and I was so fascinated that they could do these supernatural things. So it was through that where he was like, look, you live in the world, go ahead and live in it. If you're not gonna become a monk, don't don't act like you're gonna become a monk. Be what you
He
are.
was telling you either be all the way in or be don't be on the fence.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what it was. He was like, just live your life. You can be lay, and lay just means to be a Buddhist who
Right.
hasn't made a monastic vow, basically. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
and that's what it was. So, I ended up coming back. And I changed up the way I was doing music. At this time, bro, I was like a trap rapper. I mean, I had songs with Waka Flocka. and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Who's another one of my good partners at the
Shout out
time.
to his mom, and you could hear me tonight on B100 on her radio station. See,
That's what's up.
that's how the universe flows, though. It gave me the
Yeah,
tingles because I don't know you like that, and then for you to
for
say
sure.
Waka Flocka, and it's like, yo, I'm on his mom's station tonight.
That's hard. That's hard. Yeah,
You know?
I've been knowing Flocka for years. Flocka's on the same type of time now too. You know what I'm
Yeah, I've
saying?
been listening to all his shit. It's because, you know, you would not know this, but once you're like you reach into this certain area of wisdom, it begins to make sense why these other religions are structured the way they are. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Because I mean, shout out to the 5%ers. They were one of the first people out here in the urban landscape telling people another version of knowledge. You know what
For
I'm saying?
sure.
Whether you
For sure.
believe that or not is up to you, but we have to have a diverse thing of knowledge. And I'll just say this, and then we'll go back on with your question. I always point this out to people, right? Is that why would somebody hand you the answers to something if they're your enemy? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's no reason for
It
them to
doesn't make
hand you a
sense.
book that says, here's all the answers, because then you'll be free.
Absolutely. Makes no sense whatsoever.
So no doubt. So you come back to the States, you're doing music, you're doing so now tell us about your perspective though. You're like, I'm gonna do music, but I'm gonna do it like this.
Yeah, so I came back, I dropped a project called Return of the Artist, and that's what it was. And I called it that because now I was into artistry. Like prior to that, like I could always hold a note, but I thought it was pussy to sing. So, you know, I was just rapping. You
Right.
know
It
what I'm
was your
saying?
old perspective. Your old
Yeah,
perspective was
exactly.
influencing what you was putting out.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, so everything was just hard. Everything was street. Everything was gangs. Everything was selling drugs. Everything was, you know, just like drill music and all that shit. Today it was that same type of music. So, you know, and then I learned like, okay, we as in the indigenous people on the planet, like we thrive off of music. You know, in every indigenous culture around the planet, singing is a part of it. Like singing
Right.
is the true music. You feel what I'm saying? Even melody has made its revival today in hip hop music. You know, rappers melodize, they use melody all throughout everything now because melody
Right.
really is the core. Is the core of music, man. So anyway, I during this time while I was gone, I was training myself to sing for real. So I went on like YouTube and took singing lessons. I just did it off of YouTube and just did it every day.
Listen,
And I got
anybody who
nice.
follows me right now is laughing at this right now because I'm one of those guys that be on Facebook and be like, listen, some of y'all need singing lessons. It's okay to get a
Yeah,
singing coach. You know
for
what I'm saying?
sure. For sure. And that's what I did. I just went on YouTube and I'm like, look, I just typed in singing lessons and it was like 1 through 16. And I just did it every day. I just followed along and I got
That's
better,
dope.
got better, got better. Then I went and found singing coaches and they were like, oh, you must have worked with some other people before. I'm like, nah, YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But that's how far YouTube got me. You know what I'm saying? That's how far it got
I
me.
mean,
So
you could change your engine out on YouTube step by step.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, you could figure it all out. So I figure, and that goes back to the self reliance. Like I just know that if I want to do something, then I'll just do it. It ain't no if, ands, or buts about it. So, but yeah, so I came back through and I started incorporating the singing and I started like doing more story based music. Then I would literally would just do whatever type of music felt good at the time. I stopped trying to live in a bubble of what I should be doing and just did what I wanted to do. And then from then on, I had a lot of success. You know, just I had songs on the radio every year.
No doubt, no doubt. Do you think that the self discipline that you instilled in yourself through your spiritual change is what kind of helped you to be able to have that, you know, self discipline to do what you just talked about with the YouTube?
I mean, yeah, it was definitely during that time because you know I've always, and I think it's inside of all of us, like when your curiosity is piqued and you realize the power that you have just as an individual, as you can see it, as you witness it, then it gives you the confidence to continue trying to exercise that power. So, you know, from meditating and realizing, oh, damn, just by sitting here and learning how to breathe properly and focus, I've experienced something new that I've never experienced before. And it only took 4 days to have that experience through just true discipline. So then I'm like, damn, what else can I do?
Right,
So, you
right.
know,
It
and
opened your
that's,
eyes to like, damn, hold up.
yeah. yeah, if I just focus, I can do it, whatever. And then I realized like, okay, through the singing lessons after 2 days, I'm like, oh, my voice already sounds a little better. Like I already could tell that I'm hitting notes a little cleaner. Like it's
Right.
expanding.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, if I just keep doing this, boom, I'm gonna be straight. You know, and
Right.
that's like everything just kind of compounded. I just realized like that's all life is in general. Like
Just focus.
you fail your way to success. Focus
Right.
and then just keep going, and you'll just get better and better and better. So
Right.
yeah.
Did you study? Yeah, I'm sure you studied about like chi energy, right? Things like that.
Yeah, yes. I'm not only in my. That's what I was learning in China. Learning I Ching Jing. So the terminology means muscle bone changing classic, and so all of my the brother students and the masters of the lineage can utilize chi in all of its forms. Zen chi being able to
Right.
like project chi and move things, or goi chi, which is something that you can use to like heal the body, manipulate things in the
Right.
body, stuff like that.
Definitely. If you're watching this interview, go Google those. But one thing I found was interesting, and just in my own studies, um, and one of probably my biggest regrets is like wasting your chi. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see my time before I was 24, like where there's a lot of things that took my focus and just, you know what I'm saying,
Mm,
misdirected self energy. You know what I'm saying?
sure,
And I
sure.
feel like that having that focus you have now is it seems to me like that's what drove you into the next phase, because like, let's fast forward to the what do we want to call it, the lockdown, the quarantine.
All right.
And so you're doing music, everything's going well, but right before the quarantine, how are things going? Like, do you have a single out?
Yeah, right before the quarantine, I had a single out. I just did a new deal with Universal, with a bunch of music that I had just created. So, and all of that deal was more based off of the music that I had just created than anything I had put out.
Right.
Because of the producer I was working with, Harmony Samuels. He's responsible for a lot of Chris Brown stuff, a lot of Ariana Grande stuff, all that. So he and I had developed a relationship, and I made a bunch of records with him. So then he called in his partner. You familiar with Cardinal Official?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Come on,
yeah, for
man.
sure. I knew you were, but I just had to say it. You know what I'm saying? So
Man, listen,
yeah, so
if
then
you a DJ today and you still don't know who that is, please
yeah,
go look up some remixes, some classics. Come on.
yeah. So then
So
Cardi flew in and heard the music, and then he got Universal on the line. That they came in, and we did the deal. So it was really based off of just music that still hasn't even come out to this day. That made
that
them
is
realize that.
crazy. That's
Yeah, yeah, for
crazy. It just
sure.
got shelled. So wait, so all that's going on. You just got to deal with Universal. Lockdown happens.
Layer lockdown happens, and
Just
everything's on
basically didn't
ice.
get to promote nothing, and they couldn't
Nothing,
put
because
nothing out.
yeah, because they, the way that a label looks at things is, all artists are potential, right? And
Right,
then whatever artist is moving, now this is something that is generating income, so they're gonna put more dollars behind what's generating
right. They're
income.
waiting to see who organically makes it move, and then they're like, "Oh, that worked."
Exactly that one. So what I learned about the music industry just throughout my time being in it is the people that have the resources and the networking, they actually don't know much about music itself.
Facts.
They what they know is numbers and how to
They know
not
business. They know
they know
business.
business,
Right.
exactly. So they don't know how to create the fire. They just know how to fan the flames, essentially. So
That's a great
and
analogy, man. I love that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's what they do. So like I realized that I honor and I respect it. I know that for myself in this situation now, I have to get the fire big enough for them to want to fan the flames. That's where we're at this very moment. So what I
That
did
is such a
was
great analogy. I love that because I think that's so important, especially for the young kids. Because I don't like. I'm gonna give you an example. My son the
mm,
other day, we are having a conversation. I make him watch animal documentaries to go to sleep because he.
yeah,
The
yeah,
next day he asked me, he said, what's the difference between us and a lion? Like, because he's eating, I made lamb or something. He's like, what is
mm,
this? It's a lamb. He's like, well, what's the difference between us and a lion? Because a lion eats a lamb too, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, the difference is, and I pointed to a piece of his art. I like, you can write your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the art. That's the creation. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, facts,
So I
big
just think
facts,
it's
big
it's
facts.
crazy that you identified that. No, you know, I could tell where you at, but like that's one thing that I think that artists probably sell themselves out a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot. Artists sell themselves out. They don't realize that you are creating the fire and then handing it to them. Like, here,
Exactly.
take the fire.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
So, you know, I had that
and I think
realization.
to that point, let's get to this next question. To that point,
Sure.
you you as a creator who understands that was able to take quarantine and turn it into something.
Absolutely, man. I was able to create myself and my business partner Fox. We created Romeo's Vegan Burger. And you know, it started out as a food truck. Really, it started out as a restaurant, but then we weren't allowed to open restaurants because during that time during the quarantine, people couldn't even go inside the restaurants and eat.
Right.
You know, like so it just didn't make sense to do it. So we tried the idea out as a food truck, and then in doing that, it just went crazy after that. Like after that, you know, from the first day we took the truck out, it was lines, and then it was just more lines and more lines, and then it became its own cultural phenomenon. You know, it got picked up on different hip hop magazines. It got picked up by all the news outlets from here to Texas. You know what I'm saying? And it just was its own thing. And then, you know, a year later, we were able to open a brick and mortar. But so then coming out of the pandemic, you know, now I've shot some more stuff with Universal, but that's how it is. You know, I'm sure since then they've probably signed another 50 acts. You know what I'm saying? Right. So now I'm one of the many. So then what I decided to do was I'm like, okay, I got to get back on the radar. Like I'm not going to ask them or beg for anything because again, it's a self-reliance thing. So it's like, okay, how do we figure this out? So, you know, Fox was kept pushing. He was like, bro, we just need to come out with another single. So what we did was we went, I just went, I myself went to start going through beats. I had listening to beats and I'm just a creative guy. So I did like 4 records and Winter just happened to be one of them that night. And I had Fox come to the studio. I'm like, yo, I think we got one. Boom. He listened to it. He's like, yeah, that's crazy. And now, mind you, this had nothing to do with the label. So I didn't even tell the label I was putting it out. I just put it out. And then they saw it. And they didn't stop it and didn't even do anything about it because they realized how long I've been waiting to do something. And I know, and I realized, you know, and they also realized like, me putting that record out doesn't do anything to harm the situation. If anything, it just makes it better. So if it reacts, it reacts, and they didn't have to spend $1.
Right. And I think well, one thing I want to ask you about this record, and after if you're checking this out, we're gonna put this on the YouTube. You can watch it at click the bottom. What inspired that? Was that a real situation, or was this living, you know, voyeuristic, what do they call it, voyeuristically from someone else's perspective?
I know what you're saying. You talking about the song?
Yeah.
It's genuine, you know, like, and the way I always create my music, man, I believe music is supposed to be the soundtrack to people's lives. Like that's what an artist is charged with. You know, you're supposed to color the background of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to create.
There's a lot of white noise right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's a fact. You know, and like music is there so you can communicate a thought to somebody that you yourself can't articulate. So you can be like, yeah, this is what I was trying to say to you. This is how I feel about you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, when I was growing up, that's what music was. You could dedicate a song to somebody because the song said what you wanted to say and you didn't know how to say it. You feel me? So in that song, I really wanted to just speak to women and how much women do for us and all the music today. Like you go back to the 50s, 60s, any time in music period, we've always lifted the women up. But then we fell into like this dark age of, you know, just
misogyny.
Yeah, absolutely. Dark misogyny. You're right. So that's all it was. I was just like, yo, I just wanted to create.
I made a post the other day that said, what happened to all the David Ruffins?
Yeah, you feel me? That's what I'm saying. Like,
and someone said crack, which, you know, which was true, true. But it was like, damn, they really fucked us up. You know what I'm saying?
They did, bro. But the thing is, you know, in truth, a lot of it's just shame because, like, every man is being sweet to some woman in some way. Every man depend on a woman in some way, whether it's his grandmother, his mother, significant other, all of these things, you know. So the hardest gangster on the planet, if something happens to his mama, he gonna cry like a baby still. So it's just that men don't men in this generation are afraid of vulnerability versus men throughout time have been brave enough to be vulnerable. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I recognized. So, I wanted to put out a record that really allowed for when men heard it, men would connect with it. And when women heard it, they would also connect with it.
Right. Very neutral, but empowering on both sides.
Absolutely.
Are you do you think that there was, are you aware of the 2012 cosmological shift to the feminine
Sure,
energy?
sure, absolutely. It depends on how you look at it. I mean, you can look at it from the mind culture perspective, and you can look at it from like the law of one, where it talks about, like you just said, we moved into what's called like the galactic spring. So if we look at how we have 4 seasons here, we have spring, summer, fall, winter.
Right.
Our solar system goes through something similar, and when we're in this galactic winter, man forgets that he's spirit and believes himself to be flesh. And then when we go into the galactic spring, man starts to remember that he is spirit again. And then we see everything shift. So I'm
there's a
with you.
lot of different cultures that talk about it differently, for
Absolutely.
sure. But
for sure.
I think that part of that, no matter which way you look at it, is empowering to feminine energy, or even what you just said, opening to vulnerability. Like what men, I think, fail to realize is that they're your yin and the yang, right?
Absolutely.
They come from a mother and father, so they're not all father, right?
Absolutely. It's a fact.
And I think that part of the machine of music and let's say media, because it's not just music, right? It's media. Media gravitates to violence. Violence sells, right? And that in part is in line with that, like, pushing down of the feminine energy in men. Not and that don't even take account school and finances and the rest of the world. That's just if you're a kid and you watch TV, you see the male and the female, and you see how the dynamic works. Was there any pushback from people? And I don't imagine that there's people around you like that, but did you feel any pushback from people, from men or anybody saying, why this record? You know what I'm saying?
The pushback I received was more from a tempo perspective. Like I had DJs that like one or two, like it's a little slow. You need to do something like dance music, dance.
It definitely could get some remixes. I could hear some remixes for sure.
Yeah. But in terms of content, like honestly, no, I haven't had any people that weren't feeling the record in and of itself outside of from a marketing perspective. Like I said, like if it would mix better in mix show if it was a little faster, that type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I see this one as kind of like one of those Lizzo situations, right? Or Childish Gambino. Sometimes those people, it took them a while to break. They stayed true to their character, though. They said, no, I'm not going to take this deal or this. This is what I deserve. And they shopped and pushed it for a couple years until, the world cut off.
Yeah, and then Lizzo's a really good example of that for sure, because that first song is really broke. I think she had that song 3 years prior to the world.
3 years for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess to say is what I'm trying to ask is, do you feel like this is the message the world needs, and is that what you're committed to? Are these type of messages?
In a way, like I'll say it like this: what I realized a long time ago, after I put out Return to Artist is more like a conscious project, and I had an epiphany in that moment. Like, if you Erykah Badu or you Common or you Mos Def, who are celebrated conscious artists, they only reach people who are already conscious for the most part, right?
Correct.
Then,
confirmation bias. It's just like
exactly. Then you got I don't know, some more gangster rappers like.
But you got Toby right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Toby.
So you have somebody who's experiencing a lot of success, and it's, I can't even believe some of these messages he's allowed. Like that they're letting him get out. So to speak.
But that's the thing, though. Like, but see, he's successful within his space, but he hasn't crossed over yet. And
there's not a mainstream hit yet, for sure.
Exactly. Kind of like if we look at a Russ for a moment. Like Russ,
Right.
because he functions independently, even he really struggles to have that true mainstream success. Like people know his name. He's had radio
No, I
records,
think
but
you're right on it. I think Russ is a prime example. He's got a huge following. Russ, Snow the Product.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're right. Those are the type of people. And they maintain a following, but they have not experienced like worldwide crossover success.
And that's what I was about to get at. So when you look at like real live gangster rappers like a 21 Savage or even like a Nardo Wick, right? Like
right.
they reach people who are on that wave, but they'll never reach a person that listening to Erykah Badu or Common Sense. But what I realized was a person like Drake reaches everybody. An individual like Drake reaches everybody because it's kind of like goes back to the Buddhist idea of the middle path. You see what I'm saying? Drake make music to where he raps some and the subject matter is always it's insightful on a human level. Like it's not extra deep
It's
and it's
practical.
not extra certain. Thank you. That's
But
the
I
actual
would say
word.
that's what some people would point out is not good about Drake, is that Drake is middle of the road. Everything is middle. There's no depth. Where artists like Kendrick, everything is depth. You know what I'm saying?
And so there's levels to how that's perceived, like because my purpose, I feel like in music, and I'll just say it here, like I was instructed to do it again because my teacher was like, "Hey, I think this would be a good idea." I've always did it for myself, but then I thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? Without having to say anything, I create vibrations in my music that make people feel good. Like that's
right.
what I really. That's always
Right.
been
There's a
more the
science to
idea.
that too.
Exactly. So I want people to feel it, and then I want people because naturally, when you like something, you investigate it. So if you investigate me, you end up finding out about my background and
Right.
spirituality, and then that leads you to
And just
finding yourself.
fall down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. So
Right.
that's more what
I
my
get what you're
purpose
saying.
was.
You would like I get what you're saying is that being subvert and coy can get someone to like you already just because they like your content, and then they're like, "Wow, I really don't understand this song. Let me look these words up he's talking about."
Yep,
You know what I'm
yep.
saying?
Exactly, bro. So it's like being more laid back with the approach instead of being like trying to like really push an agenda, trying to push a message, because again, it usually only hits those who are searching for it. And I'm more so trying to catch on to those who not searching for it,
Right.
who not don't even realize they searching for anything. They just was vibing, listening to music, like, oh, this feels good. Boom.
Right.
I have so many fans who reached out to me like, yo, I had no idea about any that you were in any of this, and this has opened my eyes to X, Y, and Z, and that
Right.
was the whole purpose right there.
That's really dope. I really admire that because I think that right now in the age of social media, it's one of those things where everybody is like approaches only to punch. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And so, like in a way, I see that as a like almost like a keto. Like
Yeah,
use your energy to grow you
exactly.
the way that I want you to go. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, bro. That's exactly what it is, man. I like you've spoken on the universe many times, and I look at it like it's no coincidence that we having this conversation. As you know, there's
Nah,
no
there's not.
coincidence that you're already
We're
familiar.
both on
So,
the golden path though. You feel me? Like when you on the golden path, those things you're like a planet flying through the galaxy, and some things just magnetize to you
online.
because y'all are the same frequency. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I believe in that 1,000%, and I actually call that breadcrumbs. When the universe gives you something that you can't, there's no possible way you could have set that up, or it's not a coincidence, but there's no way that you like it's an accident. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, bro.
It's just the universe
Exactly.
saying, "Hey," because the universe will give you breadcrumbs when you're on the wrong path too. Like a bullet miss
Absolutely.
your head. That's the
Yep.
universe saying you shouldn't be over here.
Exactly. No, you said something real, bro. You spoke something true, and on my musical path, like I've had things that continue to tell me to keep going, and I've like Nipsey said, I've gone through every emotion because I've been to all the labels, I've been in writing camps, I've written for people, I've like when it comes to music, I'm truly talented in that space, and in terms of reaching musical success is one of those things that I realized you can't really created. You know, like it's one of those things that just aligns itself and happens when the time is right for it to happen.
Right.
And that might happen from just that one person hearing it or linking up with the right DJs, anything. You know, you just never
Just
know
don't know.
exactly. You just
Just
don't
gotta
know.
be
So
consistent and deliver at a high level.
that's what I be on, bro. That's it. That's what I be on.
So the single is called Winner. Tigo
Yep.
B. You can watch it on YouTube, Apple Music, everything like that. You can also catch
Everything.
it on any of my shows. Your boy Ontoneyo, B100, Icon Radio, Digital Dope, and many more. And actually, before we end this recording, I'm going to say, while we were sitting here, I got a text from a radio station that said that record will be added at FM
That's love.
station. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
it's just
love.
like
That's
it's one of
love.
those things. So mad
Yeah,
love,
yeah.
Tigo B. Make sure y'all go follow him. Tell him your IG.
Yeah, my IG and all my social media tags is the same. It's Tigo B Music. That's TIGOBMUSIC on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere.
All right, no doubt.